right, so now we're going to go through the monitoring, testing and adjusting of our marketing mix. Obviously, when we went off and initially did our marketing plan, we got to a point where we came up with something that we were fairly happy with, but over time things do change, okay? So we need to make sure that what we're doing is making sure that our marketing plan changes with it and to make sure that we're always up to date and moving along properly. So what we're doing is we're starting to test different aspects of the marketing mix, okay, to make sure that it's still optimal for our needs. Okay, markets go through changes, as we know, and the marketing mix needs to reflect that. Okay, nothing stays the same, things do change over time, new products come in, new trends emerge, etc., and we need to make sure that we're staying up to date with that. Okay, adjustment is done after we test, okay? We don't just go ahead and start changing things, we start to think about testing to make sure that there actually is a necessity for change. It's all too easy for a lot of people to get very excited the first time there's a change and to go out and make, in the market itself, and they start playing with their marketing mix and not really thinking through the consequences or whether the change was necessitated or how that was going to work. And unfortunately, that costs time and resources and can actually obviously lead to a bit of a problem there. So what we then start to look at then is the monitoring aspect. And the first bit about the monitoring of the marketing mix, it involves the processes such as attaining customer feedback. Okay, so monitoring is getting information in. Okay, so customer feedback. And that might be through face-to-face surveys, promotional campaign material. Okay, there's many ways to receive that feedback, or more to the point, information. Okay, so that we're starting to get information back in. All right, so that's coming towards us. Obviously, we can use our own eyes as well to start to have a look at what's out there, but it's great when the customers start to tell us what they need to change, etc. But anyway, simply put, when we think about that is the better the association with the customer satisfaction, the better the brand value. So once again, the purpose of this is to maintain our brand value and to make sure that people are actually using and enjoying our product and having a good experience with it. And that means that good feedback systems are really essential to make sure that we have them in place so the customers can share that information with us very quickly and keep us on the front foot. Okay? We actually need to keep records of that feedback. Okay, so we need to track it over time and to pick out the messages, because sometimes things don't always become immediately evident. It can be an evolving picture that we get to. So we need to start collecting that feedback by surveys, social media, community discussions, forums, all sorts of bulletin boards, etc. And that's what's going to help us understand what's working and what's not. Okay, being able to access really raw, direct customer feedback is highly important. And when you look at things like Kickstarter and crowdfunding, one of the advantages to that is that you get to start to work with your first customers very closely and get a really good understanding of what they're looking for. That sort of information is really critical to your business. So we need to also have a think about our plan, because the problem with all these things is they don't come free, obviously. So we need to think about how do we want to get that feedback? What are the sources going to be? What technology can we utilize? What information? Is it things like SurveyMonkey? Is it, whatever it happens to be? Do we have a board or a forum on our official website, Facebook? All these things take time and money to monitor. So I need to think about how we're going to do that. And we need to just think about those platforms and how they're going to integrate with the rest of our business. Okay, so we need to start to think about who's going to do those as well. A lot of people say, I'm just going to have a great social media page. The problem with that is that actually takes skill and expertise. It's not just as simple as set up a Facebook page for your personal life and run it from there. These things actually take a fair bit of effort, and we see that mostly when people get it wrong, okay? And that can be, unfortunately, comedy gold for some people, but not so great for them. All right, so one of the things that we then want to do is, now that we have this great feedback and this information, is we need to start doing our testing phase. And what I mean by testing is that we don't just go off and start implementing changes. Okay, what we need to do is we need to have a bit of a testing period. We need to say, let's put a bit of time aside and start thinking about what changes we can make, okay, and then we can start to implement on that timetable. But it's a testing period, so we're going to put aside a little bit of time to test and check. Okay, we're not just going to start changing a whole business. Okay, as part of the monitoring process, we need to start having some plans to collect the evidence, and that's part of it. So, we're thinking about evidence collection. Okay, so we collect our evidence like a court case or anything like that. We start to gather the evidence, evaluate that evidence, find out what it means. From there, we can start to, make some actual sound decisions, not in a hurry, but actually allow proper time for correct decision making, and then we can start to run tests or develop new products and those sort of things that we can put into a pilot or whatever other way we want to go about that. Once we're fairly satisfied, we move into the adjustment phase. Okay, so once we know, yes, we're on the right track and we do need to adjust and move, we can. Okay, so that's after the evidence has been collected, after we've had a good look to analyse and understand what it's going to mean when we change this. Does it mean new means of production? Does it mean new customers we have to go and reach? Does it mean we need to start new initiatives, or what's going to happen there? Okay, so when we look at that, it could be the sales are slow, even though lots of people are looking at the advertisements. Okay, so a lot of people are looking at our ads, but there doesn't seem to be a lot of follow-up. So that might create a bit of a concern for us, and that might be feedback to us to go and have a look and say, well, what's stopping them doing that? My pet hate is when I go to a website and they put the shipping charges at the very end, and you have to go through this whole process of ticking all these boxes and trying to get it there, and it goes into the shopping cart, and they tell you that the shipping price is going to be twice what it costs to buy the product. Now, that's probably going to put a lot of people off, and what the company would find is customers are happy to come into the website, they're clicking on the links, they're following it all the way through, but then they're leaving everything in the shopping cart. I wonder why that is. Well, if they had good feedback systems, we'd tell them, hey, maybe you should have put this price a little earlier so I could have evaluated the whole position. But, that's information for them, and maybe they can adjust what they're doing. Okay, so what we do is once we think we know what our change needs to be, obviously we speak to our marketing personnel or make our decisions based on evidence, and then we start to look at how we can implement those and what that's going to mean for us. Okay, so we make sure that we go through the process, we monitor what's going on through obtaining feedback and our own evidence collection. We consider what that means. We do our testing period where we gather up the evidence, we assess the evidence, we start thinking about how much time we want to put towards that. We consider what the resource costs are and what the ramifications are going to be of any change. If I pull at one bit of the marketing mix, does it affect another bit? What's going to happen? And then once we're satisfied that we have all that correct, then we can start to look at what adjustments we're going to make and actually start to implement those. Obviously, this is a continuous loop, so once I've finished adjusting, I obviously have to make sure that I'm continually monitoring, that I'm therefore continually testing, and then continually adjusting. And this is a cycle that will just keep going all the way through, and as long as we do that in our company, we'll always stay relevant, we'll stay up to date, and we'll make sure we're meeting our customers' demands. Okay, thank you.